Today's going to be all about cactus for me. It's past the middle of August. Any cactus chores I need to do that involve cutting and transplanting and stuff, like it's getting late. And I want to make sure that stuff gets done, that cuts have time to heal before winter sets in, even in the greenhouse, because just any kind of humid environment just doesn't play well with fresh cactus cuts. I'm just going to take you with me, do cactus work. Check out this monster. Look at that. Oh my god. So we just cut that, my friend and I, to do some grafting and testing and stuff. It was hard, it was bigger and nicer than this one here. This is probably the South Australian short spine terschekii, which is probably already a hybrid. This is just what I've gathered from asking people, crossed with another scopulicola of some kind. I'm not real clear on it. Probably this crossed with a scope and then crossed to another scope. I have the tip. I'm going to root that. We took a bunch of these ribs and grafted them. There's probably 20 or more, saved some for other experiments. So it was hard to do, but it was just the right thing to do, because now I'm going to have probably a ton of these and they're amazing. It's like I wanted to get it tall as quick as possible and get it to flowering so I could use it for breeding purposes, because you can imagine not just this, like say crossed with something amazing like King Tubby, numerous other things I have that I want to cross it with. Think about that like 3 generations down the line. Once I cross this with say King Tubby and some other blocky, highly desirable, very small or no spined cactus, and then get to take the best of each of those crosses and cross them back together and stuff like that, it's going to get real interesting. So, I did want to get it up to breeding size, but that will be the goal from here out. Like once this throws pups, obviously I'll probably take some of the pups, if not all but one, and propagate those as well. But, letting that grow then to get to flowering size would be kind of the goal. Most likely I won't cut this one. This one is slightly nicer / bigger, more vigorous, but this one is very, very nice too. These are grafts that I put on this big flowering scopulicola because I want these to flower, and I'm just hoping that by putting them on to a cactus which is already flowering, that they'll flower within a year or two once they get going. Unfortunately, I got a late start, but hey, they're primed and ready to go, and we still have 6 weeks of growing potential here at least. In the greenhouse here especially, we have warm falls. Like September is often just hot summer-like weather. So this praying mantis has been hanging out in this corner for at least a week. I see it all the time. So I am all about focused growing and collecting and breeding. I'm not like a general collector type in the sense that I don't want one of everything just because I can get it. There's all kinds of cactus in here that I have very little interest in. I have a minimal interest in Burgessii, but I probably will keep like one specimen of at least most of what I have. But I don't want multiple specimens. There's stuff in here I don't want. I don't want lumberjack. I don't like it. It is viciously spiny. Handling it and working with it in any way is just a nightmare. Its status is deserved but not special. It's not unique in any way. It's not like other cactus can't fulfill that same niche. I don't want any of them. Same goes with Taz here, and even this Kimnock. So Kimnock, it's a nice cactus, but it's quite spiny, and handling this thing is not very fun. So I may keep just one of these, like this one here of the Kimnock, and again, like one of each Burgessii. The only Burgessii that I'm really interested in possibly propagating a few of, I already have a few SSO2, that I think there's like 3 here, is this, which is Poots Bridge, because it has this beautiful, beautiful blue frosty, blocky, and it has this cool zigzag line you see that goes down the groove there. I just think it's the nicest looking bridge out of the lot. But even then, it's not like I need more. It's just I kind of want one on hand. I just planted one at a local place where we're kind of curating a little cactus collection garden for them. And I just thought, as far as representing Burgessia, that's the thing I would pick. I think it's a great cactus. Also, it's supposed to go spineless as it gets older. The spines, like, I guess, fall off easily or something, and that's pretty cool too. Today I'm going to kick some stuff out of here because I want to move some other stuff in and I want to make more room. This is almost all King Tubby here. There's some more King Tubby here. I'm trying to get to about 100 plants that I'm just going to grow out and not cut. You know, I mean, I'm sure I'll take a little pup, you know, extra pup here and there. You know, I want to get some of this, a bunch of it growing to get like big established cactus. Now, originally I was going to do that in this size of pot here, which I don't know what that is called, but I've decided to go with these. The reason is that they're extremely stable and they're extremely space efficient. I mean, I just pulled a bunch of these out to graft onto, but these are all seedlings here. And just look at the efficiency of space when you get these blocks like that. And they're very stable, so if it's all blocked in these blocks, then only the ones on the outside can fall, and they can only fall in one direction. But you could also make like just use some wood to make a sort of like frame within which to hold them. That will be really stable. And then, yeah, it's going to get crowded and messy in there, and they're going to get root bound, but they can grow very large, much larger than this in these with adequate food and water. And that's okay, because what I'm really going for here is getting stuff ready to eventually go in the ground. And if that's 3 years down the road, even 3 or 4 years even, that's still okay. Yeah, they're not going to be what they would be in those, but they're still going to have good roots, and they're going to be pretty good size, and they're just going to be ready to just go nuts once they get in the ground. So that's the goal here, and that's why King Tubby isn't available yet, because I want to establish a bunch of plants, again, that I'm just going to let grow and not mess with. And as soon as I get those, then I propagate more plants and grass for propagation to distribute. Right, and I'm still deciding how to handle that. I may wait until I have like a whole bunch, dump them onto the market basically at a reasonable price, sell a ton of them that way. I could also start with a few, like get a few going, and then, you know, like auction those off and let them go for whatever they go for. You know, we'll see. It may be a combination of those things. But honestly, my real goal with that is to kind of like capture and use the initial market, and because I just think that everyone's going to want a King Tubby. I mean, it's so kind of like take advantage of that a little bit while simultaneously wrecking the market and driving the price down, which I think is kind of the ideal scenario. It can get me some money for my cactus ranch and all my other, you know, projects, but also, you know, make it widely available very soon after it's released, if not right away. So here's some grass. This is Verity, which is a fantastic Scopulicola throwback of Mallow 4. It's a Mallow 4 x Mallow 4 F2 cross. So I'm trying to get a lot of that. So my early grafts, I had a lot of failures this spring due to infection and just grafts not taking stuff. But I recently moved to rubber bands, and that has brought it seems to have brought my success rate way up. So anyway, we'll get to that, but for now what I want to do is just get a bunch of this stuff that I'm not that interested, like this ER110 here is an extra, the Lee is an extra, this stuff in clay pots, there's some seedlings, I think this is like Lumberjack X Jules Giant, maybe. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here I'm not particularly interested in. I'm going to kick it out and just put it outside, and it either survives or it doesn't, and I'll be thinking about you know, selling that stuff off, because I just don't want to be babysitting. I spend a lot of time watering already on this homestead, including the cactus. I mean, it's hard to keep up, honestly, in the summer like this in this hot greenhouse. I don't want to be babysitting stuff that I don't really need or want and don't have much interested in, like TPQC. I don't need an extra TPQC. I'm not sure I even need one TPQC. Oh, while we're here, this is an experiment that's appears to be going pretty well. So What I did is I split this down, hoping that it would stimulate the cactus to see each of these individual isolated ribs as kind of its own cactus that needs to grow a tip. Therefore, the idea would be to get it to sprout a pup on every single one of those. And we're up to 4. It took a long time for any of them to sprout, but I think it's very encouraging that there's 4 now, and I've been watching these other 2 ribs to see if there's any kind of swelling going on, and I don't see any yet. So we're up to 4 out of 6. These preliminary results are encouraging enough to go ahead and try a bunch on other ones. So if anyone else tries that, let me know how it goes. I think it's pretty promising. And the other thing about this I thought is, well, you can see that like 3 of the 4 that are sprouted from the top buds. This one sprouted 1 bud down. My thought was, say once these grow, it depends on my goals. Like with this, my goal is numbers, not size, right? So if these were to grow like this big by, the end of September, I will probably cut this off and propagate that. And by cutting this off, I'm thinking, well, then it's going to think the same thing, and it's going to grow a pup out of every one all over again, right? You see the potential here for just farming for numbers of clones, like something that you really want, just numbers, and you're not really worried about size yet, which is exactly where I'm at with this variety. This is Hextasy. It's Scopiocola SSO2 Berkeley Botanical Gardens pack. So it's a 3-way hybrid. I think this has a lot of potential, and maybe even today we can go and set up some more experiments like this, because again, like, it's late in the season and this needs to happen now. I mean, it's already a bit late. It's time to evict some cactus. Oh, I was getting the thing I was getting at with this here, I have other grafts and stuff like these that I'm going to start degrafting. Like this is allegedly, that's Hextasy. This is allegedly Ogun. There's a nice big fat Ogun there. This is, again, Verity. I mean, look at that. This is a fantastic cactus. It's very scope-like, but it has very desirable attributes, and it's quite blocky and beautiful. It seems to be fast-growing, etc. So I'll be degrafting some of those, and I need a place to put them, right? I cure them out. I'll basically root them over the winter once they're well cured, and they'll be ready to go in the spring and take off. And I'm going to do that in these pots because of space efficiency. Again, I would rather have them in something that size in terms of getting them as big as possible for however long I have to grow them before they can get in the ground, but that's just not going to happen. So I will have another block like this that will go basically along like here. So I need to get some of this stuff out of here because it's in the way. And it's just, it's just crowded and messy right now. So getting that stuff out and reorganizing is the first thing we're going to do today. I like carrying cactus like this. Grab the edge of the pot, support this with one hand and with a glove. Yeah. This feels good. Get some of these guys out of here. This is a mutoid TPMX Nitro TPQC. It could do something interesting. Like this is probably the same thing. Spine size I'm not happy about. Clear some stuff out. So this was grown in the shade for literally years, up to like this high, without much food, probably not much water, in literally just oyster shell and sand. And look what it did when I got it into real soil and some sun and everything. So I think we're just going to cut that off because it's absurdly top heavy. It's going to want to fall over. So I've used both Sharpies and paint markers a lot. I like these paint markers. They don't write as clean. I mean, they're kind of sloppy, but they don't fade at all. Whereas these can fade over time. But I find the regular Sharpie permanent marker is fine. Don't buy the Sharpie Extreme. They're extremely crappy. They're worse. The Sharpie Extreme is marketed as, better for sun and more permanent and under different conditions. Not my experience. I think they're awful. They're actually worse. There's no need to leave it on here because it's just absurdly top heavy. That's just not gonna play well. I'm kind of tempted to just cut this whole shebang here off because it's just going to do the same thing again. This way it'll sprout from the base and form nice strong pups like the one that's coming out here. That's what we want to see. We'll just add them to the cactus graveyard here in the shade. So you can see some of this stuff is in that oyster shell and sand mix that my friend used. He passed away, and me and some other mutual friends went through his collection and got a bunch of stuff and gave a bunch of stuff away. Most of it I've potted back up into real soil. I don't know, he just had this weird idea that that was a good idea, but the results clearly show it's not. Not if your goal is to grow beautiful green, nice, healthy cactus. Look at that. I took a rib out of this scopulicola for grafting. I probably got over 10 grafts out of that. This Scope Haynes x Scope Aaron, like 2 Australian scopulicola. Gorgeous, gigantic, basically almost spineless. I wanted to put one in this collection that I was curating for this cactus garden, and I just have this, and I thought, well, I could wait for it to pup, or I can take a rib out, graft that. I don't have to take the tip out, so it can keep growing, which means that I can get this up higher and eventually to flowering size quicker than if I chop it. And so I've used that strategy quite a bit. You can see Hextasy here has 2 ribs completely removed, and it's growing nice healthy pups. I also took off another little graft right here. I did that also to Verity, to a pretty big extreme. This used to be a nice big healthy cactus, but I wanted a bunch of grafts, and I cut the top off that for other reasons. Orking Tubby throwing little pups. Look at that beautiful symmetry. Orking Tubby, Ogun. This is just a really cool seedling that I picked out. I usually am like looking for 5 and 6 sided cactus. This is 7, but it has nice blocky flat sides. There's something about this cactus. Again, symmetry. I like symmetry. If you look at it from the top, it's got this nice red spine color, reasonably small spines. This is KR04. This TPQ CX Mallow 4 cactus that I got from Cactus Jones. I'm encouraging him to give it a name because I propagated a whole bunch of it, and it at least needs an accession number or something to distinguish it from other TPQ-CX Mallow 4 crosses. Very into this cactus. It has the form I want, small spines, other extremely desirable qualities. I'll be propagating a lot of that. We took like a big chunk of it here and grafted a whole bunch of it. Scopulicola Clone A, again from Cactus Jones. Trevor's provided me with a bunch of cool stuff. This is Trevor's Genesis cactus, which is just a really nice, fat, super small, soft-spined Pachanoe that he got in a market in Peru. There's a whole story about how that got him into cactus in the first place. Keto Cucumber, Bob's Colossus, I think it's Bob's Colossus, just says Bob's, but I think it's Bob's Colossus X Ogun. I have high hopes for this too. Since these are etiolating, I'm going to cut them at some point soon. This one maybe not, because this is not going to play well. It must have just sprouted roots really slowly or something. Torres and Torres, X Scopulicola that Will Tomlinson gave me. He just brought it to me because he knows what I'm looking for, and this is along the lines of what I'm looking for, very much so. Who can we kick out? This is just TPM. I got lots of that. I don't need to be keeping it all around or inside. TPM is extremely prolific. If you want a lot of TPM, you can get a lot from a small amount very quickly if you're simply willing to start cutting it up. Yeah, so all these like Taz, Oceanside, Lumberjack, out. I don't want them at all. I may keep Oceanside, which is this, which may be the same as Paula, which is that's actually Paula. Lumberjack is really the most vicious cactus I have. It's got long spines, it's got short spines, it's got lots of spines. You cut the spines off and they grow back. Fuck Lumberjack. Now it's gonna stab me. It's a what you fuck? What you fuck? I don't want to grow it. I don't want to breed with it. I mean, use it for breeding. I definitely don't want to breed with it. I won't grow any more crosses of it. I won't buy any more seed. I'm done with Lumberjack. I really have to congratulate myself this year on weed control. I was really on top of it. It really paid off. What a difference. To get stuff in a timely manner so that you're not faced with like these big weed problems that are difficult to solve later, like this, where something is so rooted in that it's actually very hard to get out. And of course, you're always dealing with this like spiny cactus crap. That's a tough plant. There is a thing of beauty. That is a Gordita graft. Gordita is absolutely gorgeous. Probably the most blocky cactus I have. Very small spines. Unfortunately, it's extremely prone to rust. And if you leave it outside and it gets rained on, it basically just pops. It blows up and cracks. It's aptly named. It's so damn fat. Gordito, of course, means little fat, basically, in Spanish. It's too bad, and I don't really know what to do with Gordita now. Like, I can't grow it outside here. It's just it's no go. I don't know if other people would be interested in growing it, like indoors, and pampering it, and, you know, dealing with its rust issues, if there's any humidity. Let me know what you guys think. It seems like it should be out there. I mean, I'm growing some on, you know, some of these, like that's one right there on a flowering PC, hoping to get it big enough to breed with because the morphology is so excellent. So if I could breed out those undesirable traits by crossing it with other stuff, like King Tubby, of course. My friend was here the other day and he was like, yeah, I think Gordita might be the most beautiful cactus I've seen. So he really likes it. It is just a fantastic morphology. Now here's something that's getting weird. That's Mallow 4 x Mallow 4, I think. Looks like it could be a mutant. It's popping like crazy, so there's something weird going on with it, and it's starting to do some weird stuff there. That could turn out to be pretty cool. I'm living the dream up here. It's time to relocate you. He's like, what up? What up? What up? There we go. Now let's put you somewhere that's just like a really good photo op. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, this is great. Making some room. Oh, so I posted about this cactus on Instagram and I was really hoping it was going to go long-term spineless, but right away it started another spine section. This one has like, well, that got nipped off and I cut a couple off that had damage. But this one is going spineless, but you could see it went spineless right here and then reverted to spined again. So they, instead of forming like nice big dragon schlongs, they formed, I've been calling it a Tucson tickler. That's hilarious. But, you know, always be looking in these mutants for stuff that's doing this and going spineless. It looks like it might grow long spineless sections, like Bruce's dragon. This is Taz, don't want it. ER110 is possibly the bluest Bridgesii that I have. This one's not too blue right now, but you can see this one right here. I hope it comes through. There's stuff in here that's probably close, but it just doesn't have, yeah, I don't think anything has this level of like intensity of blue. And that's why I bought it. I got it off eBay just kind of randomly as like a, you know, impulse buy. Some guy was like, this is the bluest Bridgesii in my collection, and he called it ER110. I don't know what that's about. Maybe it's about like, you know, ERs in the emergency room. You're turning blue. I'll keep one of those, but I don't need two. So this one's going outside. And it's not the type of Bridgesii that I really want other than that, because it's quite skinny. It's a skinnier bridge. I want nice, fat, robust bridges that aren't prone to falling over. Again, Oceanside, it's like, I don't really care. It looks more like a hybrid, maybe like a Peru bridge hybrid or something. It's very groovy, ribby. There's not a lot about this cactus that I really like. I think I'll just put it outside. I don't really need to keep it in here. I'm not doing great today physically. I mean, I can keep going, but I keep getting dizzy when I stand up. My blood pressure's low. I'm not super energetic or feeling very great. Hopefully I'll be able to keep going here. I think this is a seedling of some kind that I'm not particularly interested in. Oh no, it's Kimnock. So this is the Kimnock I have is 2876. Again, it's not something I'm interested in having a lot of. No, that's Mark's number 23. Like, I have a code somewhere what those numbers mean. Clearly Bridgesii. I think I'll go look that up now. So it looks like Mark's number 23 is probably from a guy named Reed. That's where he got it. He had it as RS0009. Unknown Bridgesii from Henrietta's nursery. To me, it's just another skinny bridge. This is some failed graft material. Again, that's Taz, not interested. That can go out too. Who else can we kick out? Well, those two lumberjacks and that Taz. maybe Paula. I might throw Paula out, I might leave her in. And then I could just do a little reorganizing to make some space and consolidate things and neaten things up. Yeah, I'm really out of breath today and just not doing great. I may have to take a nap or something. Here's some high strangeness, but it's not as interesting as it looks. It's actually from slug damage. So slugs took out a bunch of stuff over here, and this just kind of compensated and grew over, and now it's righting itself. That's Taz. It's really top heavy, so I think I'm going to chop it. I'm just going to de-spine enough of this to get a good grip. I don't really like doing this in here because the spines get everywhere. Stepping on them and stuff. I had one go through the bottom of my shoe and into my foot. Fortunately, it had broken off, so it wasn't super sharp, but it still stabbed me. Now this one's actually a seedling. Let's see what it is. I keep very few of these. This is Sarah Blue X SSO2. It's a nice seedling for a bridge. It seems fat. Pretty blue. I'm going to hang on to it for now, but I'm going to rehouse it over here with seedlings. Well, you can see how these things can actually get quite large in here, and this can get much bigger, kind of blocked in there, so it doesn't fall over, hopefully. So that's just outdoors for the winter. I may add some more to it later. And now there's some stuff in the upper greenhouse that I want to move down into here now that there's more room. See, just walking up here made me dizzy and short of breath, so I think I may need a nap. That might help. I don't know what's up today. I did have a long day yesterday, and I woke up at like 1:30. I wrote an essay about pseudoscientific woo, which is not at all what you would probably think it is. It's actually about the dominant paradigm in science right now, which is basically woo. Typically focused around materialism, but engaging in belief thinking. Because woo is not a category of things that you accept or reject categorically, like let's say magic, psi phenomenon, or paranormal phenomenon, or something like that. It's a way of thinking. It's a flawed way of thinking. It's an unscientific way of thinking that can lead to problems no matter what area of inquiry you're engaged in. Things that need to be done up here is these trichocereus are going up into the other greenhouse. These flowering cactus, I'm not sure yet, but I have a bunch of flats that are newly sprouted, and we'll talk about that if we get to it, and experiments in that I've been doing and how they're turning out and what went wrong earlier this spring. And I may need this space that these flowering cactus are occupying, and I don't have another place to move them, so they could end up there as well for now, maybe just temporarily. So I may have to move those, but definitely the trichocereus are going to move. The only one I might leave in here is that extremely variegated specimen right here, which is just really prone to sunburn. It already has a bunch of sunburn on it. I'll probably auction that thing off pretty soon because I don't want to take care of it. It's too much of a princess, you know? I mean, it's neat, kind of, but it's not that neat. This is my favorite variegate right here, which is Baker X SSO2, and it looks like it would be more durable, like up in the other greenhouse, and not get, probably not get too much sunburn. Most of the rest of these also have some level of variegation. That's why they're up here in the shady greenhouse, but I'm just going to move them down there, and they can just deal with it. And I'll probably also move all of these crests and mutants down there as well, because I need this space really ideally today if I get that far and don't need to sleep for the rest of the day or something. And these I'm just going to carry them down, because if I try to put them in like a wheelbarrow or something, it's just not going to go well. They're going to fall over, bend, break, get bruised, etc. All right, guys, I'm done for now. I need to go rest and see if I can get back on track, which sucks because I really wanted to get a lot of this stuff done today. I wanted to tie up like all these different cactus projects. One of the priorities is certainly moving a bunch of this stuff out, and then another one is dealing with these cactus down here, which I brought up here because they were new or they were getting sunburned, and now they're etiolating because they're down there under the bench in the shade because I don't have enough room, and I'm probably just going to put those outside under some light shade. They're going to sunburn very easily at this point, and I don't need that, but I don't want them to etiolate any more than they already have because they're growing fast and they're etiolating at the same time. Yeah, so much of this stuff, it's time sensitive and it needs to happen, but I have way more other things to be doing besides cactus projects. Hard to juggle, I'm always overextended. Before I put these away in the greenhouse, I thought we'd just take a quick look at some of these cool crested seedlings. This is the one I call the pet. It's kind of my favorite. It's soft, like if you're careful you can pet it. This one's pretty cool too. These are all Oscar TPQC, I think. This one's very nice. Again, I've mentioned in other videos that I'm always kind of looking for these pure crests that are they're all crest and no points. This one right here is getting a bit pointy. You can see it's kind of forming these things, and sometimes like they'll start out real cresty and then suddenly they'll just go to this and then they'll just grow tons of points. I'm not really that into those. This one is also showing, you know, a point there, point there, point there. So we'll see as these get bigger how they do. This one has like an actual little weird column there. Always just waiting to see what those do. This says 2022. We're in 2024 right now, so yeah, these are 2 years old. How about that? They grow fast if you take care of them. So that would make these 1 year older, so these have grown for 3 years. Again, if you pot stuff up, move it up quickly, like keep it moving, you know. Even this one I'll be thinking about potting up, although I'll probably let it go another year because I'm not, you know, I don't need to force it to grow super fast. But all of these I will pot up to something like this size here. Yeah, so I'm going to put these up in the other greenhouse and then move some seedlings. I will eventually start to propagate these. It's just that I don't want to cut them up. I mean, look at this. It's beautiful. I don't want to cut it up. It takes a lot of seedlings. You know, I've been through a lot of Oscar X TPQ seedlings to find like these 3 right here. And then the rest of these other 5 are, you know, I'm not really sure about yet. They're cool, but they may not be this cool. But eventually I'll do it. You know, I'll sacrifice a big chunk of this, cut it up and root a bunch of pieces and start making them available. Of these ones that are really show out and are really special. This one is quite interesting too, you know. So what this row is right here is every other cactus is a cactus I'm especially interested in growing. So there's like King Tubby, that's one of the ogons I have, or alleged ogons. And then I've left a bunch of spaces for more of those. And this row is really all about testing for like hardiness and rust resistance growing outside, how they just perform outside up here in the mountains, because it can get quite cold and wet. So every other cactus is something I'm particularly interested in, and then they're filled in between those with stuff that I'm maybe not quite as interested in, like this Fields Pachanoe, which is very ribby, and the rest of this stuff, some of our seedlings and things, are really about just observing how different cactus do outdoors in cold weather. There's a bunch of space here left for things like Verity, Hextasy, you know, other seedlings that I've gotten that have the form that I'm interested in, to see how they perform outside. So as I get more of those propagated to the point where I can get plants and put them out here, I'll fill in the rest of these spaces. I may leave these here even indefinitely when I move, just to see how they perform over time in this climate, because again, it can get quite cold here. Next, we're going to move these seedlings down where they can get some more light, and I really should not have moved them up here in the first place. I just, you know, some of them were new seedlings, and I just had observed that they're getting torn up so much by the sun that I thought, well, I'm not going to start them off in the sun right after pulling them out of the flats. But what I really should have done is what I'm going to do today, and just put up some shade. In fact, it would have been easier than moving them up here. So that was dumb. But you can see how these are etiolating quite badly, and they're going to have to recover from that. They're going to be kind of funny shaped. It's okay though. Not the end of the world. At least I'm getting them moved now and not just leaving them here to get even worse. And I don't need that much shade, and I'm not going to use a lot of shade. It's just going to be very light. You know, that's almost, I should just really cut that off and let it start a new tip. Quite a few mutants in here. Again, even the ones that look really promising, like this one, that one right there. Only so many of even those are going to pan out to be, again, what I'm looking for in that really pure type of a crest form. You know, a lot of these were moved here because they were getting damaged in the sun and yellowing severely, and they recovered from that, but instead now they're weak and etiolated. I did not mean to save this many seedlings this year. It just happens. I just keep pulling more, seeing more that I'm interested in and pulling them. You know, most of these will not pan out and I won't keep them. It does take a lot of numbers to get through to find the really interesting stuff. So I'm just going to consolidate. Check these. These pots are horrid. Don't buy them. I got them off eBay. I can't remember the name of the supplier. They literally melt in the sun. I mean, they don't last even a year. Well, they last functionally a year, but often by, you know, the following year, if you try to reuse them, they crack while you're handling them and stuff like that. They're just absolute junk. And when I looked up the pricing on Anderson 4-inch pots, I found that they weren't that much more expensive and they're extremely durable. You know, they have a really great form. I just love the Anderson 4-inch pots. Okay, so now I really want to consolidate these all into a nice block so that, you know, they're tidy and easy to water, efficient to water and all that. So this is the one I like. This is the 4-inch Anderson pot. It's not a band, meaning that it actually has a bottom with a few holes versus the bands, which are just open on the bottom. They just have kind of a cross. So we'll group those together differently, and they're extremely durable. They're very, very space efficient. They don't have this extreme taper that tends to fall over all the time, which is just really annoying. Oh, I want to face these tags outward too so I can read them. When I'm cruising through here, you know, I'll just come out sometimes and just look these things over and go, what's interesting, you know? What's looking interesting? What am I going to keep an eye on? Eventually I'll start to sort them out into like blocks and groupings of like, oh yeah, these look, you know, more interesting than average, and see how that pans out over time. It just gives me information that I need. I'm particularly interested this year in a lot of these Jules Ex Novo crosses. I've pulled many of them, probably dozens. There's a lot of them that are 5-sided, so almost everything I've pulled probably has been 5-sided, you know, reasonably small spines and blocky looking like this. It looks blocky already, even at that age. Yeah, I'm very interested in those this year. I have a lot of them too, although, you know, if you order them, you're mostly going to get 6-sided cactus, but they're just very nice. Like I was going to pick, this thing rotted, but it's actually not rotting anymore. It looks healed up, so I'm just going to plant it about half deep, and I think eventually that will probably root. Those Jules Nova crosses are really nice. Like if I was going to pick one flat of cactus out of the greenhouse this year of seedlings that I wanted to plant like a whole bunch of in a field or something, it might very well be that. In terms of morphology, at least, that's very much what I'm looking for. While I'm thinking of it, and I have an empty pot here, I'm going to pull this one seedling over here. It is small sized for this cross. It just looks extra fat and blocky. Okay, so just change this tag to Mallow 4 Wara Z. It's kind of about time I went back through all these. Again, especially I'm still going to go back again through Jules Ex Novo, because they're more, as they get bigger, more showing up that are like 5-sided and blocky. And I don't want to miss the opportunity to get more of those trialed out to pick like the few best ones. So like that one right there, I'll pull that. But if you order cactus, don't sleep on these. I like that one right there. Even if I have gone through and pulled out a lot of the best ones, they're still just very interesting. And I have so many that I have them listed cheaper. So they're like 50 cents less than the average seedling. I think I have them listed at $2.25 each. And I've got bunches of them, so don't sleep on those guys. Here's another flat of them right here. Just really nice looking, symmetrical. That one's really nice. There's a bunch of nice ones in there. Another thing I'll do eventually is start consolidating. I'm going to cut this one off. The mutants together and getting those into blocks so I can observe them. So that'll just like sprout a nice new pup there. That there's no use leaving that highly etiolated stuff on there. So if you take a look at the difference between these two pots, it is really considerable how much more stable this is. And when these things grow for 1 year and they end up looking like that, it makes a difference in your day-to-day handling of these things and whether they're going to fall over or not. Anderson rocks. Also, this pot in particular, this 4-inch pot, comes in a lipped version like this, which gives it a little more rigidity and it's easier to kind of grab like this. But they also catch, you know, on each other all the time and prevent you from pulling them out of the flats. So I would actually recommend getting the one without the lip. I think the pot model number might be 1900, 1900L with a lip and just 1900 without the lip. I think, don't quote me on that. You can look at the Anderson website. But next time I order 4-inch pots, I'm probably just going to go ahead and order these. How many of them I'll actually let go, you know, in terms of like selling plants in them and not pulling them out and bare rooting them and just saying, hey, you can buy this cactus, but I keep the pot. Because right now I won't let any of these go. I always make them pull the plant out if someone comes up to buy cactus. But really in bulk, you know, buying a whole case, which is a lot. I mean, I think it's 400 or something like that. They're not horribly expensive. They're really not that much more than these other like landfill waiting to happen pieces of crap. And again, I've cut a few more of these off. Like this one right here is just, it's too skinny and it can just start over. This one is as well. Those will harden off plenty before winter comes and they'll be in this cold frame, so they'll be dry anyway. I came out here to get some shade cloth, but I did want to do one more project this evening. I'm winding down. I really need to just get chill and eat and stuff. These King Tubby pups that I cut off that were grafts, they formed like really deep cups, and I think it's just because they were so young and juicy, and it may just be that, you know, King Tubby is like that, but these are going to hold water like all winter long, and that water is going to freeze sometimes. So I'm just going to take these and slipe them. That's a basketry term, sliping. Slope them so that they drain. You know, it's that simple. Just so that's gonna pretty much drain now. If I don't think it's good enough, just take a little more there. See how bad this one is? It's like a 1/2 inch deep, you know, that's gonna hold a lot of water. And this is already pupping. I'm hoping something on here will pup, but it'll have to be from this side because I need to take a bunch of this off. These didn't really pop out, you know, from these bases like I thought they would or hoped they would. Like this one never re-pupped out. It's been cut for a long time, so I'm just gonna hope that they pop out next spring. Some did, some didn't. This one's ridiculous. That's like 3/4 of an inch deep. Okay, that takes care of that. I think it's time to go ahead and uncover these grafts. I just put some shade cloth on them for a while. Tomorrow will be a week. It's not been super hot, or the sun is, I mean, it's warm, but the sun isn't like super intense or anything. Probably safe to uncover. A lot of these are that terschekii. In fact, I think they all are. I'll leave the rubber bands on for quite a while, like at least another week. Why not? I just see a couple more of extremely etiolated pups. If you don't know what that means, it means that the tips are growing very, very skinny. This one's very bad. This one's quite bad. And I just feel like it's probably better to cut them off and let them form new pups than to leave them the way they are. This is the last one that's really calling to me there. These can't stand to be in the sun even one day. Even though the sun isn't what it was, you know, a couple weeks ago, we're going to have some very hot days, and these have been in the shade for so long, not going to fare well in any full sun. That solves that. I wish I had watered those first, but I think I'm just going to wait and do it in the morning when I do my watering rounds, which I do pretty much every morning. All right, nice hanging out with you guys today. There's a bunch of stuff I wanted to do, including potting these guys up into those 5x5x8 Anderson bands, some grafting. I don't remember all what. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do still, but I did get a lot done, and I got a lot of heavy, lifting, schlepping stuff around done. So that's nice to know. Over and out.